Hi, welcome to a new video dedicated to a new brushed FPV machine from Eachine. This is a new QX90C and now it comes in Pro version. So what we will find, yes, it's still a brushed quadcopter, so they are still producing some. But now there are some dark edition 8.5 by 20 millimeters cordless motor, so much more stronger. I'm not sure about the exact specification in terms of RPM, but probably around 59 or 64,000 RPM. We have a board, an F3 board, including an OSD, and also including 3 types of receiver. I got the FieldSky version working in D8 mode, but good news, it's also broadcasting the RSSI through telemetry as well as the VBAT, and also send the RSSI for the OSD parts on the last channel. So a lot of new electronic ingredient, and as you can see, we have possibility to down tilt to up tilt the FPV camera with nominal angle at least. So let's discover the contents of this new entry model FPV machine. I received the standard packaging, and you have to know that there are 3 types: the really basic with just the quadcopter, 1 unique LiPo, the standard, so I will show in few instants, and there is also the kind of more deluxe bundle with some more spare batteries and also a spare full canopy structure. So let's open the basic one. We have an instruction manual. Like any Eachine model, is printed and pretty well done in color. Okay, so we can find, for example, in the first pages, it's one side, okay, one recto page. We can find all the characteristics of the machine. So we have 41 grams in total, including the battery. We have an Eachine AUF3 brushed with a built-in OSD. So I will raise immediately a caution. If I remember well, some of them, at least for the former model, was suffering of poor or a weak MOSFET. So under load or after a crash, some MOSFET could burn. So we will have to check that fact. Anyway, let's continue. Some cordless 8520 black edition, clockwise and counterclockwise. Some Ladybird 50 millimeters props, very efficient. 700 TVL for the IO module, okay, with 1/4 NTSC only sensors. Video transmitter is the 48 channel 25 milliwatts, okay, and we have for the standard 3 LiPo 600 milliamps hours, 1 cellular model. So the flight time is announced to be about 5 minutes and announced to come with Betaflight 3.2.2, and personally I got the version 3.2.1, okay, just the former edition. So let's discover first the accessories. We have this charger, where it can be used, but either for LiPo when this micro switch is on the left, or for LEHV. Okay, so be sure to have the micro switch here turned to the left. You can plug directly with the micro LODI connector. No parallel charging possible with this small charger. With the deluxe edition, we have a parallel charger. That's great. A screwdriver, okay, can be very useful to tune the up tilt angle of the camera. A bag with 4 spare props, 2 rails to clock, and a carbon wrench remover tool. We have also 2 spare props here. So there are some 600, and it's a classic model, comes with most of the recent QX brushed quadcopter, so they are probably recycling the stocks of LiPo. Anyway, in average there are about 15.9, 16 grams, okay. Yeah, so a small deviation in terms of weight, but around 16 grams, ending with a micro LODI. They are not so bad, but not discharge rate mentioned. Be aware, no voltage protection on them. So, and let's discover now the machine. And we have the third LiPo pre-installed, okay, so in the battery tray, and it can be removed very easily, and where we can guess here all the IOF3 board with the 2.4 GHz antennas associated with the FireSky receiver. You have also the version with the FlySky working with the HDS2 protocol or Spectrum DSM2. First remark, the bind button, at least for the FireSky, is not available through the bottom side, so you will need to remove the top canopy, but it's pretty easy to remove it. But anyway, let's continue to discover. Let's give the weight of this machine standalone without any batteries. So should be relatively light. Okay, if I can install it correctly on the support of the scale, about 35 grams, and if I had the battery, we should reach about 51 grams, announced in the instruction manual, exactly 50.7, 50.8 grams. It's not so bad for a brushed, but the weight saved probably is due to the pretty light plastic structure. So first remark is very important, like the QX90, the former version, everything is in plastic. The frame, and immediately I will raise some caution because what I'm seeing is actually scaring me a bit, because the structure is pretty, I would say, thin, in plastic only. So whatever, we will give some dimension, even in plastic doesn't mean really nothing. But look that, close to the motherboard, we have here a hole, and ending with the plastic motherboard. So imagine in case of crash, the mechanical stress received by this part, and I'm pretty sure with a very high probability that this part will break very easily. So especially if you are flying over solid concrete, some very solid surfaces, don't expect any miracle for the durability of the frame. This machine should be flew over some grass, tender ground, okay, to be sure to amortize a minimum of the shock. But here actually I cannot say it's a super solid machine. Look, the flexibility of the arm, it's flexible, so it can handle probably, okay. And another point of the weak point of this structure, what I'm seeing here, look that we have something a vertical side here, and it will probably break under stress. So okay, on the other hand, it's flexible, so it will be able to handle a nominal of the kinetic energy transmitted by the shock, but don't expect miracle, okay. Another, I would say, weak point is how the top canopy structure is attached to the bottom one. We have here two small pads, okay, where we can declips and clips the top one, where we can guess now the upper structure. We have here, okay, the buzzer, so tape here, okay, so be aware to not remove it, but it's tape on this small circular tape. And here we have the IO camera, 4 wires because we have the OSD connection. And if you observe some micro vibration in the videos, be sure that the camera is correctly installed into the jelly, into the plastic, and you can see it's not really the case. So it means that probably you will feel some vibration, okay. And if it's the case, probably fill this gap, okay, here with a small foam element, and or with some I would say silicone, some stuff like this. Be aware with a hot glue to not cook the wire, some stuff like this. Anyway, so it's a weak point. First, how these two small plastic pads are locking the plastic structure. Either this small plastic pin will break, or I will say the whole of the top plastic structures. It's there are two choices of probably failure. So that's really annoying. Okay, and okay, we can maybe tune the lens orientation at least through these two lateral screws, one and this one. But this is the maximum angle we can apply. This is something about reattach the canopy 15 degrees, and we can unfortunately only down tilt to 0 degrees. We have here the linear antennas where through this hole here we can access to the unique button, because it's locked into NTSC configuration, unique button to tune the V-frake and the V-band, and as usual short press to cycle within the current band into the 8 different V-frake, and if you long press more 3 seconds you will cycle between the 6 supported V-band. So let's power it to check if we have, for example, some light, some stuff like this. Okay, and we have to attach the micro LED connector. Okay, we can hear the buzzer, we can see some light of the flight controller. Okay, and another important point for the binding, on the rear side we have the micro USB port where you can plug the machine to your Betaflight. What I can say, the actual buzzer sounds to be not super loud. We have the 2.4 GHz antenna more installed front, so be sure to install it more vertically down to maximize the radio propagations. Let's check the default Betaflight OSD information display in the machine. So I will power, and as you can hear the buzzer actually is not super strong. Okay, and let's check the default information. So, well, we have more or less some good information. We have the battery voltage on top left, the flight time, the name, the status, the flight mode, and the RSSI. So, and the crosshair. For me, it's a really good choice. Very well. The layout is great for me. So, good job with the default Betaflight OSD information at least. Maybe I forgot to give the exact dimension of the machine, but something about 90 millimeters, but it's quite obvious. Okay, so we have something about, yes, so it's a 90 millimeters, a little bit less, 90 millimeters, 88 to be more precise. It's time to check the default Betaflight configuration, but first I wanted to show you good news about the telemetry. Okay, and I already pre-bind the machine with my jumper in D8 mode. Okay, and you have to be sure that you select the Fear Sky in D8 mode. So for example, with the jumper, this protocol. And good news, if you go to the transmitter menu in the telemetry, you will be able to see some varying values. So the VBATs, so to correct this one, you have to play with the ID2 option in the Fear Sky protocol. And here we have something similar or compatible with the RSSI. So you can set a threshold, and as I mentioned previously, if you want to correct a bit of the voltage display, be sure to play with this 82 gain option. Increase it, okay, to something about 30 or 40, can remember well, and you will adjust after correctly the gain of this one, and then you will see that in the transmitter menu you will have something more correct. Okay, so the voltage will be a little bit better this display. So now it's time to check the Betaflight configuration. Okay, and fly it. Okay, so let's discover the default Betaflight configuration, and I will press the connection. Okay, and sometimes we need to reboot completely. Okay, then press connect. And sometimes it's a little bit capricious to connect. Yes, this time is okay. So let's check the default version installed. The version is 3.2.1, not the ultimate one, so we can flash maybe later. Anyway, I strongly advise to dump all the settings. So type the dump command and copy from the result all the information into an empty text file, for example here. Okay, and then if you need to restore, just paste from this text file all the command into the CLI here, and don't forget to end with the save command. Okay, let's discover the settings. Okay, and I will press reconnect. Hope it will be okay. Sometimes it's capricious, as you can see. It needs to be pressed several times. Okay, and then it's okay. Great. So let's check the port. We have the UART3 turned on. It's logical because we have a FireSky working in S-bus connection, so in serial. So be sure to have the serial turned on for the UART3. In terms of configuration, okay, we have a quad X brushed here. Okay, motor stop. The default settings are 1070 minimum for the throttle. It will stop. Okay, and the different settings for the gyros and the main loop. So actually we have a CPU load of 18%. We can disable the barometers because there is no barometers, and we can probably increase a bit the frequencies to something to 8 kilos, for example. So what I will do, and let's continue. We have the receiver, so confirmed to be a serial based, and more particularly in S-bus configuration. Let's check now the features turn on or off. We have the LED strip turned on. Strange because we don't have any LED information. Okay, or is not really down, so I don't see any light. So I will reconnect. Okay, and return to the configuration. So now the CPU load is up to 22, so not so much more. And I want to check that this LED strip strange because we have something configured. So maybe we have some light on the extremity of the feet, but I don't see them. So anyway, let's continue. I will keep the whatever the LED information. The power is well, more cell associated with LEHV battery, and we have everything tuned. So we have 2.8. So probably made it into taking into account the last underload of the battery. For the PID, we have something standard from the default Betaflight, so I will probably increase a little bit the settings to something a little bit faster. Okay, like this to 800 and more something linear for the okay, and maybe 34. Okay, 33. The level strength for both angle horizon is the default one. The TPA as well the any gain, okay, for anti-gravity. So we press save, and let's check the default filter settings. We have the big quad with the nominal value. So it's time to turn on the receiver, the transmitter, and look at that versus what I said in the first part. Finally, the receiver can be powered by the USB. At least you need a 1 ampere one, okay, to be sure of that. What we can see the activity of the RSSI. As you can see, my avatar is moving because I don't have the correct channel mapping for my jumper radio. So I will select the FireSky one, and everything will be much better. So be sure to select the RSSI for the USD with the aux5, as you can see the activity, and be sure to center all your command close to the value 1000. So if you need to center, for example, Mayo is not perfectly, go to your mixture, okay, of your radio, and you can select the 8 point, okay, of your radio to be sure to be centered into this value of 1000. Okay, so what I will do, and I will be close to 1500 right now. Okay, it's perfect. And be sure also to reach all the values, okay, to be sure to harm. So be sure that, for example, this one is okay, and we can see that I don't have really the scale, so be sure also to not have a too large scale to match the range between 1000 to 2000. Let's continue with the mode. we have an arming switch here, okay, and what I will do is for the aux1 to associate, since I have a three-way position, I will arm more in this position, and on the middle position I will use more the beeper, okay, so something more like this, so with aux1 like this. So I will select, I will save it, so it means that when I will be in that position I am disarmed, when I am in the middle I will use the beeper, and when I'm down I will arm the machine. Now I will play with the aux2 for the flight mode, so something more classic, angle mode with in upper position, horizon in the middle, okay, and be sure to select aux2, and more acro plus anti-gravity and air mode when I will be in air. Be sure to set one more time the aux2, and air mode is around here, okay, it was already pre-selected like this, and save. So as you can see, when I am the aux2 I got acro plus anti-gravity and air mode. In terms of OSD, we have an NTSC camera, so we can particularize it. You can see that the layout is not bad. Maybe I will disable the craft name, okay, and more to shift the flight mode status here, okay, something around. And I think for me it will be enough, and be sure to adapt, for example, the capacity of the battery can be useful, okay, and select the metric unit can be also useful. So everything is here, and I want to apply the throttle, okay, because information is always useful. So I will apply something more here. So I'm ready to go, I'm saved, and I want to upload some more larger fonts. So I really appreciate the clarity one. It's more larger, and I can read the information in much better way through my FPV goggles. So it takes a couple of seconds to upload into the board this font. Okay, and then we are ready to go, and to check how beastie are these dark edition motors. Okay, we will press reconnect. Okay, and after a couple of seconds, I hope so, we can see the OSD. So here you don't see any, for example, the phone seems to be not uploaded. So it's more a bug with the current version of Betaflight, the 3.2.1. If you want to see the correct font appear here on the OSD layout, be sure to flash at least the 3.2.5, and it will works fine. Okay, so now it's time to go in the field and check the performances. Time to fly with the QX90 Pro DC version. Okay, so first in lost condition. Well, I tuned everything, had the FPV ring as well. Little bit the OSD layout, even if it was very well done out of the box. Okay, let's go and to see how are the performances of these dark cordless brushed motors. Let's go. Okay, so we record on my FPV goggle. Okay, and then let's arm the machine with the switch. Wow, okay. Maximum rate. And in angle mode, let's see a punch out, let's go. Oh, not so bad, not so bad. For 1S. Oh. So the default. So you can see that after yes, you can bank relatively well. Yes, it got powered. So it should be more or less acro compatible. Let's see one more time. 1, 2, 3, go. Not among the best, but it's one silhouette brushed one. Okay, let's go now more in FPV. And you can see that the machine starts to drift after a couple of seconds. So in angle mode, maybe some drift effect. Let's check that.